Hey, what's going on, everybody, and welcome back to round 5 of the RMFantasy Experts Show. I'm Chase, and something you might notice today, no Charles in the studio with me. Charles is, in fact, right now, somewhere in the middle of the Arizona or Nevada desert, riding a motorcycle that he bought while he was down at Phoenix Supercross. Yes, they are doing a challenge right now. I think $1,000 budget to go down to Phoenix, buy a motorcycle while they're down there, ride him back to Vegas. So that is why Charles is not here. But that's also why you want to subscribe to the RM Rides YouTube channel from Rocky Mountain, where a lot of you have probably seen some of those cheap bike challenges that we've done. That's what they're doing right now. So I, Chase Cook, will be your host today for round 5. We are headed to Tampa. First East Coast race of the year, so the 250 West class is going to get a little break. We're going to have, I believe, 3 races on the East Coast, 3 or 4, and then we have our first East-West showdown. But it's going to be good. Remember, if you are not playing RM Fantasy SX yet, at this point, I really don't know what your deal is. You have no excuse. It's free to play. We give away 10 weekly prizes. Doesn't matter when you sign up. You can always win a weekly prize. Of course, we have our grand prize at the end of the year, and we also have RM Fantasy Cash. Now, when you score points playing fantasy, it translates to cash that you can spend on Rocky Mountain's website. So please, get joined if you haven't already, and subscribe to the Rocky Mountain Fantasy channel so you do not miss out on these videos. All right, as I said, we are headed to Tampa, round 5 of this series. But before we get into it, remember, we give away 20 tickets to every Supercross round during the year. This week, it's Daytona. I've never been to Daytona. I don't know why. It's on the list, but I've never been. But if you live in Florida, or if you live somewhere where you want to go to Daytona and you want some free tickets, we've got some to give away. So all you have to do is just comment down below in this video and let us know if you can make it to Daytona and how many tickets you need. That's all you have to do. Airfare, travel, it's not included, but we want to give you some tickets, so comment down below. All right, that being said, let's give a shout out to our KTM leaderboards here. It is Jai with 280 points. Don't know how he's doing it. Literally almost double my score. Not far off from that. And then it's Medic24 at 272 and Luigi Man at 269. And then our weekly prizes from last week in Glendale, it was Camden 16, scored 102 points, which I would love to see Camden's picks. I don't know how you get 102 points when Jett Lawrence is the wild card and it's all shaken up, but he won the $500 to 7. And then it was Concept Plumbing, 97 points, won the 10 FMF t-shirts. And then Braden, 95 points, $400 spending spree for Works Connection. And again, we gave out 10 other prizes. So congratulations to you for kicking my butt in fantasy. But if we look at this week, let's talk about weekly prizes that we're giving away. So for this week, we have a 7-gear package, $500 spending spree, Alpine Stars Tech 7 boots, Magura hydraulic clutch, a Cherubies Fox gear set, Purley Scorpion tires, ASV F4 brake levers and clutch lever, Bell Ray spending spree, Dirt Tricks, Fly Racing, Stay Fly casual package. Those are the 10. But as always, when it comes to grand prizes, you know the deal. We give away those race prep dirt bikes at the end of the year. Yes, we give away 3. We have a 450 SXF, a 300 SX, and an SX E5 that we give away, all decked out with the best parts. 4th place, Fastway. We're going to fly you out to Idaho where you get to go take a tour of the Fastway facility and get a little training session with a retired pro if you want to do that. 5th place, Dunlop tires for a year. 6th place, Stay6 e-bike and accessories. 7th place, Motion Pro tool package. 8th place, Pro Honda prize pack. 9th, MSR gear and casual hookup. 10th place, Supercross, the video game, console, and 4K TV. You heard it right here, folks. Win some prizes. It rock and rolls. All right. Here it is, your Fox Racing race recap. Here are your results up here on the table in front of me. Look, I did not expect Chase Sexton to get the overall win. He didn't even win one of the races, but he got the overall, so he was consistent enough to do it. Yes, unfortunately, we saw Jett Lawrence, who still ended up getting the wild card. I'd love to see the numbers on that. But Jett Lawrence, 8th place, torn ACL if you haven't heard the news already. Unfortunately, that means Jett is going to have surgery, probably having it right now as we're doing this show. And he's going to be out for 4 months at least. So it's about a 4 to 6 month recovery time. So hopefully we can see Jett back for the outdoors. But y'all know the deal. When you come back from an injury like this, you lose that fitness, you lose that strength. So Jett's going to be racing his way back into fitness when he does get back on the dirt bike. So, man, this sport is brutal. You can go from the top to the bottom real quick. If any rider can relate to what Jett just did, because we saw how he dabbed his leg, it didn't look that bad, but a lot of times that's all it takes to damage your knee. Eli Tomac with his ruptured Achilles tendon did that, just jumping through a rhythm lane. So I'm sure Eli can feel a lot of what Jett is feeling emotionally right now and what he's going through. So Jett, wish you the best. Want to see you on the bike soon. But your results, it was Chase Sexton, Cooper Webb, Ken Roxon, Eli Tomac, Hunter. That's your top 5. Not too surprising. Some of these riders, we're going to talk more about them, but it was pretty, I don't know about you. I loved this racetrack. I loved that there was the big quad that you could do out of that rhythm lane that some riders were doing, some weren't. If you did it and the guy next to you didn't, you would gain a lot of time there. I love the big double going across the finish line. In fact, Marshall Weltin, who is one of the best privateers out there, he's calling in. I had a good little interview with him, and we're going to talk about that track here in just a little bit. But news and injuries. Drew Adams. The PC curse continues, folks. Drew Adams on Monster Energy Pro Circuit Kawasaki 250s, broken collarbone. Jett Lawrence, don't need to talk about that anymore. But outside of that, it was a relatively unscathed night for how big the track was and these big jumps that we had. We didn't see that many crashes. So I know that some riders were talking about how it was too big. It was, it's not necessary. But in my opinion, you got to choose your poison. Because you hear some riders talk about how these tracks are hard to pass on. They're one line. There's nothing separating them. Well, this track, in my opinion, had all of that. When you're going over the wall jump after the sand section, there you could go single over and then either double, triple, or triple, double, or you could just go and you could go triple, triple, and you could make passes there. The whoop section, you could go inside or outside, and guys are quadding into the whoop section. Some guys are going inside, and then you could do that quad. There's the big double across the start straight. I think this is one of the best track options we've seen as far as rhythm choices and what separates the elites from the rest of the pack. I don't know. I'd love to hear your thoughts, so comment down below. What did you think about the racetrack this weekend? Some of the 250 highlights we got to talk about real quick. Juju Bomer, don't know what was going on there, but he completely threw away race 1 and race 2. Would he beat Cole Davies straight up? I think so. He was the fastest qualifier in both sessions. I got to interview him. So I do think that Juju, if he doesn't go down, probably wins the overall that night. But it was really cool to see that. Cole Davies, man, this kid's the real deal. I mean, I look at Cole Davies, and I do, honestly, I see kind of a younger Jett. The bike control that he has, his posture on the motorcycle, everything reminds me of Jett Lawrence. So when he goes to 450s, I think he is going to be lights out. But let's see what he does still on that 250. And then congratulations to Triumph Racing getting their first overall win in the 250 class. That's impressive. Your second year as a manufacturer racing Supercross to get your first win, that's pretty freaking awesome. So congrats to Jordan Smith and those guys. All right, let's kind of walk you through here. Cooper Webb won that first moto. Ricky Carmichael picked for 8th place in the wild card. Maybe that's what it took to fire him up, but it was impressive to see Cooper C hold Jett off. And then what I want to see is a little bit more Malcolm Stewart lap 1. Did you see him throw down that whip over the triple opening lap? Can we get more of that, please? I'm here for it. It was incredible. All right. Speaking of that, let's get to our ASV guest caller, Marshall Weltin. Again, we were talking about the track, kind of same thing that I brought up already. Let's get Marshall's thoughts. Dude, how about the track, though? So this has been a talking point since everyone came back from Glendale. I've heard some riders said it was too big. Some riders said that they liked the flow, that it was fun. Is it not necessarily that it was the obstacles were undoable or dangerous, more than if you made a small mistake on one of the and really, I don't know if there's anything else besides that quad or the big double coming across the finish line. Is it just because the risk is so much higher if something does go wrong on those two obstacles?
See, after racing all the tracks, I don't see Glendale as being much more like big as it's not really any bigger than A2 was. I mean, the jumps at A2, there are some really big jumps at A2 and also San Diego.
Yeah.
Track builders are keeping it pretty much on par. I just think the consistency of a big track every weekend is now like compounding to be like, oh, wow. Like, I mean, there that one jump across the start straight, I think it made it look spectacular because they popped up in the air so high.
Right.
But I don't think it, as far as like the jump, like the quad after the finish line was huge. Whenever you go like over 4 jumps, 4 singles, it's always big no matter what. But I don't really see, they're for sure building things taller this year, as far as like the height of the jump. And that amplifies it as a racer. When you add more height to the landing or the takeoff, it always kind of is a little more intimidating, and that brings in the factor for the 4 or to do an extra triple in some areas. But I don't see the track as being like bigger than any of the previous ones. San Diego was maybe there's some smaller jumps in San Diego, but as far as A1, A2, and Glendale, they're all pretty much the same height. The builders are being pretty consistent with it.
All right. Thank you very much to Marshall Welt for calling in for the Fantasy Show. Again, you can catch the entire interview on the Rocky Mountain Fantasy channel, so be sure to go check that out. But track trends. We are headed to Tampa. First East Coast race. Houston, we have sand. I believe it was Tampa a few years ago that we had a really long sand section. And this is kind of reminiscent of that. If you look at this track, right-handed start. Some people talk about that. I don't really think it matters, right or left hand. These guys are top of the class. I think it really doesn't change that much as far as the start goes. But looks like you got a fair amount of 180 turns on this track. The rhythm lanes aren't super long. So kind of see how that shakes down. That's one thing I liked about Glendale is the longer the rhythm lane, I think the more opportunities that it gives for riders to possibly make mistakes. With this track layout, it's busy, not long rhythm lanes, but you have this sand section, which I hope plays a factor because it's basically a rhythm lane all covered in sand. And that is a section that can easily lead to riders making mistakes. So I'm excited for that. And then you do have another sand section right after the finish line. I've seen some of these finish line sand sections like this before. Personally, we'll see. Maybe it leads to passing opportunities. I'm not sure. I'd probably prefer maybe just to see a bull turn there, but maybe the sand makes it hard to get a drive coming out of there as you get going back across the start straight. We will see, but looks like a good track layout. I'm just excited for the sand section, so we'll see how it all plays out. All right, here they are, your Bridgestone top contenders. Chase Sexton, red plate holder once again, 84 points right now. So his race score is 1,641. Here's the thing, though. I'm still a little concerned about Sexton just because of starts. He didn't win one of these races in Glendale. Now, could he have caught and passed Tomac in that last race? We'll never know. Did he know that he had the overall? Yes, he did. Does that mean that he didn't just push it? Don't know. Only Chase Sexton knows the answer to that. But he has not been better than 4th after lap 1 in 6 gate drops. So not once. It's kind of like Tomac. The riding's been phenomenal, but it's coming through the pack. And we've all seen how it goes. In these races, you just can't start 6th or 7th. It's so hard for these guys to push and get to the front. But he took 2nd in Tampa in 2023. I don't want to bring it up, but that was one of those races where Chase Sexton just crashed on his own accord in the whoop section, and Cooper Webb actually won that one. His ride looks amazing, but like I said, just needs to get a start. Are you going to pick him to win this weekend? He's got the speed, obviously. Just do you trust him to get that start? But with Jett out, does that change things? I don't know. Ken Roczen, 82 points. Tell you what, this was not on my bingo card that we're going to be going round 5 and Ken Roczen's 2 points out of the championship. But gosh, he looked good in Glendale, folks. I mean, he beat Jett straight up. Jett couldn't catch him. Kenny was doing the big rhythm lanes. The Kenny that we're seeing this year is different than what we saw last year. There is no doubt about that. And I honestly think that Roczen came into this season kind of like we expected. Not a lot of pressure. He's racing his dirt bike because he loves to do it. He's having fun. But now that he finds himself in this position, I think his mentality might be changing a little bit. I think he went from, hey, man, I just want to get some good results, just want to make it through, to now it's like, hey, man, Jett is now out. I've won races. I can be a true title threat. So I look for Kenny to step it up just that much more. So anyway, he's gone 2-4-2-3. He's been on the box 3 out of the first 4 rounds. Is he a title contender? I honestly think so. If he can capitalize, I don't think he's going to be able to just beat Tomac and Jett and Sexton straight up, or Cooper Webb for that matter. Maybe Cooper Webb. Kenny's just never been good long term. He's never been good at finishing the season as strong as what he started. Webb's the complete opposite. Webb tends to start out a little bit slow, ramps it up towards the end. So Kenny's just got to stay in this thing week in and week out. But he's got the speed, so we'll see how it goes from here. He took 4th in Tampa in 2023. Eli Tomac. Oh, goodness, 75 points. So he's 9 points back of Sexton right now. No big deal. We still have 13 races to go. What's crazy, though, is that Tomac is 3rd in points and he only has 1 podium. The math to me is not mathing right now. I don't know how Tomac can be 3rd in points. Roxon's 7 points up on him, so I guess it makes a little bit of sense, but he's only had 1 podium. But he's had, I would argue, him and Sexton, I don't think anyone's going to say different, are the 2 fastest riders on the track right now. With Jett being out, hands down, it's those 2 riders. He's just got to clean up the starts. In Glendale, I was there. I was calling race day live. I was on the floor. And both times out of the gate, the first 2 races, first race is about 15th, 16th. Second race, literally dead last. You can't be the fastest guy on the track and start dead last. I just don't know. They've got to figure this out. Third race wasn't too bad. He got a much better start there, but it still wasn't convincing. So I don't know what's going on with Tomac starts. They said they did something a little bit different for that third race, and they figured something out, but we'll see. Anyway, he's got the speed. In 2023, he started 7th and took 15th in Tampa. But look, he started 15th or worse in 4 of the 6 gate drops this year. 15th or worse. That ain't going to win you a title. Luckily, Sexton has kind of been doing the same thing. They both haven't been very consistent. So I guess as long as Sexton's not just nailing starts every time, he can get away with it a little bit, but eventually that's going to catch up. Now, Mr. Cooper Webb somehow has 3 podiums to Tomac's 1 and is still 1 point behind Tomac. Again, the math is not mathing to me, but Coop looked good in Glendale. And again, just like Kenny, he held off Jett for that entire main event in race 1. I was thinking, I'm sure most of you out there will agree with me, there's no way we thought that Coop was going to hold off Jett for that entire race. I just didn't. But Coop showed raw speed. He's never been good in Glendale. And he comes out and he gets 2nd overall. He proves everybody wrong. Maybe it was Ricky Carmichael telling him he was going to be 8th place for the wild card. I don't know. But he surprised a lot of people. And it let me know that Cooper is a real contender. He's not just going to try and be an opportunist. I think he really does have more speed than he had last year. It is the 2nd year on that Star Racing Yamaha bike. But yeah, man, he just looked really good. Look, he won Tampa in 2023, and Webb has said multiple times he gets better the later we go into this season. He likes East Coast tracks. He likes them being ruddier. He likes the tackier dirt. And that shows because last year, his average finish on the West was about 4.3, and he went down an entire position to 3s on the East Coast track. So he did get better last year. So that being said, Cooper Webb, man, it's just going to be tough. You got to put him, he's got to be under podium, I would say, from here on out. He's just so good at grinding these things out. So Cooper Webb's looking good. Now, Hunter and Anderson. Right now, as far as points go, Anderson is up just barely over Hunter. But you got to look at the stats to know, because Hunter and Anderson are going to be the 2 top picks, I promise you, for 5th place in Tampa, especially with Jett out. So I did a little comparison here between these two. So Hunter's 2 points back of Anderson, but has finished 5th or better in 4 of the last 5 gate drops. Anderson has only finished 5th or better 2 times in the last 5 gate drops. They've both started 5th or better in 4 of the 6 gate drops. So that tells me that they're getting the same starts, but Hunter is just not getting dropped as much. He's just riding better right now. He's more consistent. And average start per gate drop is 3.3 for Hunter versus 5.5 for Ando. So even though Anderson is ahead just slightly in points, Hunter has been the more consistent rider. I don't know what happened with Anderson in Glendale, because normally you would think that's going to be one of his stronger tracks. He's done well there in the past. He did not look good in any of those races. He's just kind of forgotten about. I didn't see him doing that big quad out of that rhythm lane. I know he has said that he doesn't like quads, but he just didn't look racy to me. Now, I know Anderson is working hard to figure this out. Marshall Weltin said he was grinding at the test track or just riding all day Monday, which is not too common for these guys, but just didn't look that good in Glendale. So right now, for me, Hunter, the more solid pick for a top 5 by far. All right, here it is. Works Connection Wildcard Watch. All right, folks, Works Connection Wildcard Watch. It's 15th this week, which is honestly probably one of the harder wildcards we've had so far, because when you look at the stats, it is all over the place. And a lot of times a 15th place guy could be a rider that goes to the LCQ. So Benny Bloss, the first rider that we have up here. His average finish per gate drop is 17.83. His best finish so far was 12th at Anaheim 2, but he's DNF'd about half the motos. So it's Bloss is kind of risky there. Colt Nichols. Why do I always expect more from Colt? Why do I always feel like he's going to be like a 10th place guy? I don't know, because he's a 250 champion. I don't know. But Colt just went 16, 16, 15 for 16th overall in Glendale. But Colt's been going to a lot of LCQs. But when he makes it into the main event, right now Colt really is just a 15th place guy. And statistically, him and McElrath, next guy, make the most sense to me right now. McElrath has not finished more than 2 spots from 15th in any gate drop this year. 13, 17, 17, 14, 15, 13. He's right in that window. Now, does Jett give him another spot forward? Probably. But McElrath statistically makes total sense. Savacci, which is another rider where surprisingly, I would never think of Savacci as a 15th place rider. But he just went 17, 14, 14 for 15th in Glendale. But he was 10th and 11th the weekends before that. His average start per gate drops 13.3, but his average finish is 14.5. Still a little bit riskier for me for 15th. Savacci, we all know, phenomenal rider. Don't know what's going on over there. Hopefully he figures it out, but I'd take McElrath over Savacci any day here. Chiz. Chiz is probably 18, 18, 18 for 18th overall in Glendale, and he went 20, 20 before that. Kyle Chisholm is the kind of rider who just wants to make the night show or make the main event. If he gets into the main event, he will take whatever position is given to him, and it's typically he will take the last spot before you have the riders that just DNF'd. That's usually what you get with Chiz. Oldenburg, kind of all over the map, 16, 19, 13, 17. So he's kind of right in that 15th place window. So I would say, for me, McElrath, Oldenburg, Nichols. Bloss is just a wild card of the wild cards. You just don't even know if that dude's going to get through the whole race. So that's it. Those are the wild card watch riders this weekend. But here it is. The Acherbys lock them in. Again, Charles ain't here. He's suffering out in the desert somewhere, so you're going to get my picks this week. I'm going to go Tomac, Sexton, Webb, Roxon, Hunter, and my wild card, Shane McElrath. That's who I got. I think Tomac's going to get the job done. Just needs to get a start. Sexton for a solid second. Webb, yeah. Not too surprising with the top 5. Look at qualifying, but these are your guys right now. Anderson needs to kind of have a little rebound, but I don't see anybody else cracking the top 5 this weekend. What are you guys' thoughts? Comment down below. I would love to hear it. Remember, join us each and every week for the RN Fantasy S Experts Show, where normally it's not just me. We also get Charles in here, but we do this every single week, so get subscribed if this is your first time watching, please. And remember, go to the Discord. We have our memes. One of our favorite things to do. We're going to show you some up here on the screen, but go submit your memes if you haven't already on the Discord. On the Discord, you can bench race with us. You can submit your picks. Dr. JB, always hooking it up with the lap charts. So make sure you go there to check that all out. If you have any questions about anything, please comment down below. Remember, 20 tickets to Daytona. If you can make it, let us know and how many tickets you would need. As always, thank you so much to everybody who watches the show that makes this all possible. To the sponsors of Fantasy, we appreciate you. Good luck this weekend. We'll see you next week.